What if I told you that you could go from idea to fully functioning web app with users in the course of a weekend? In this video, I'm going to give you a quick behind the scenes look at how I actually accomplish that. Hey there, I'm Kyle, and I'm an academic technologist at Boston College Law School. And throughout the course of my day, I'm typically helping faculty learn how to use technology in their teaching in their classrooms. And over the past couple years, I've been really diving deep into artificial intelligence and how that's affecting both legal education, but just your daily workflows, both professionally as well as personally. So what I wanted to do in this video was give you a quick behind the scenes look at how I built this AI Advent Calendar project. So I thought it would be super fun to come up with a way to give people a really low stakes opportunity and way to interact with and learn about AI tools. And the first thing I did was immediately think, how can I get AI to help me accomplish this in a way that's more efficient, higher quality, and able to actually produce something that I can release to my community. I thought this would be a good chance for me to give you a behind the scenes look at that process, because this isn't something that would necessarily work with my law school community, although some of them might be interested in this. But I wanted to give you some of the insights that I gleaned from this project. I wanted to teach you sort of my thought process behind what tools I'm reaching for and why, the different parts of the process that I thought AI could be helpful with, and then how I collaborated back and forth with these AI tools to come up with the final product. So there's a lot of cool stuff in this video, everything from brainstorming to coding to image generation, to automating processes, to creating custom assistants to help you along the way. So I hope you get a lot out of it. We're gonna stick a little higher level, so don't let the coding thing scare you off too much. All right, so really quick backstory about this project. I had this idea a while ago, earlier this semester, in the fall semester of 2024, to come up with a fun, low-stakes way for people to engage with and interact with generative artificial intelligence tools. I know our community, there are a lot of people that are getting up to speed with these tools still. Some of them are just kind of dipping their toes in the water. Some of them have been a little standoffish with using any type of Gen AI tool. So I thought this would be a good way to dive into the deep end. And like I said, it's a low stakes way to get in there. There's fun activities to do every day. Some of the activities are just more creative and fun use cases, sort of learning the ins and outs of artificial intelligence tools. Some of them are little mini lessons that teach you a concept or term that will help you in your path to learning more about artificial intelligence. And then some of them are real world applications that you can take and use in your daily work, in your daily personal life. That's sort of the backstory. I wanted it to be engaging. I wanted it to be interactive. I knew I wanted user sign-in and the ability to share your creations. And I thought this would be a perfect way to showcase the power of pairing a human with knowledge and domain area expertise with an artificial intelligence tool to amplify all aspects of the project that you're hoping to launch. And I think this delivered really well for me. So like most projects that I work with artificial intelligence, the first thing I always do is sit down and do a type of brainstorming process. When I know I want to create something of value, typically there's going to be a few different areas that I start my project. The first two things I typically do are I'm either going to be collecting resources, whether that's knowledge-based documents or developer documentation in the case of coding, or resources like research papers, things like that in the area that I want to work in, uploading them to some kind of cloud storage like Google Drive or on my local computer just to keep them organized. And then probably a quick note stock that I'm just jotting down high-level ideas, maybe even a few concrete examples of things that I know I want to see in the project. The other thing that I often do is once I have the general idea, I sit down and I actually talk to one of these AI tools. And ChatGPT has a really cool advanced voice mode feature that I'm going to show here in just a second as one of my projects that I worked on, an example conversation that I had with that particular tool. That's really cool because you can just start talking to it as if it was a colleague or an assistant or someone that was working with you on this project. So you can just start saying, hey, I've got this idea, here's what I'm thinking, let me bounce some ideas back and forth with you. And by the end of the conversation, you can ask for a quick summary. And then from there, you can create different types of documents based off of the project that you're working on. So let's look at a quick example with my conversation with ChatGPT. So I'm going to show you actually the conversation that I had to come up with the idea for this particular video. The conversation I had to create the advent calendar actually got lost a little in the shuffle, but the idea is the same. So I fired up my phone, turned on the ability to talk to ChatGPT with advanced voice mode, and you can see the icon on the phone looks the same as on the desktop now. So whether you're using the desktop app, your app on your phone, or via the web, you get access to voice mode here. So when you're using voice mode, one thing I like to do when I have more of an open-ended discussion and I'm not sure if I'm able to complete my statement in the time that ChatGPT might interrupt or start talking, because often I'll be thinking through my ideas and stop and pause and that sort of thing. I also just don't want to keep talking for minutes on end. So I will tell it, as I'm talking through my idea, I want you to just say or okay, or some kind of verbal acknowledgement that you've got what I said, but you're giving me time to keep going. And then I usually tell it, I will let you know when I'm done. And then you can summarize the points, or I'll give it a specific command when I'm finished talking. So that's one quick tip when you're talking with these tools. You don't have to just keep going or keep interrupting it if it were to start giving you advice when you weren't ready for it. You can tell it up front, hey, I'm going to be talking at you for a little bit. Just acknowledge what I'm saying when I pause. I'll let you know when I'm actually done and we can start working on the content that I was talking about. Once I get to the end, what I'd like to do is just say, hey, all right, I'm done talking here. Give me back a high-level overview of the project, what we've talked about so far. I basically want to see what its summary of my idea is, and then we can use that as a jumping off point to keep going with the project. If I'm happy with the summary, then typically what I'll do is say, okay, now let's make this a little more granular. Let's put some finer points on a couple of these things and give me back a structure that I can work with. So I've already put in the work talking to the tool. Now I'm hoping to get a more structured output so that I can add my notes to it. I'm going to add this to my Google Doc, let's say, or my document on my computer. And I'm able to take that and further my project much quicker than I could have if I was just typing all of this out by hand. So this is one of my favorite ways to get up and running, and I really encourage you to try doing that on your own because I think you'll find it to be pretty useful too. It might take a little getting used to the first couple times, but once you've done it once or twice and you get a feel for how these tools interact with you through like voice transcriptions, or in the case of ChatGPT, the advanced voice mode, which is sort of like a different level of this, I think that you will find them to be super useful. All right, so the other thing I like to do, once I've gotten my initial sort of idea down, it's given me an outline of different things I'm gonna be doing, then what I like to do, especially for coding projects such as this, is I have ChatGPT create a PRD for me. A PRD is just a product requirements document, and this is something that you might find in the project management world. To be honest, I'm actually not that familiar with it, but I do know that these documents are used to help collect and organize all different areas that would make a project successful. So different areas of expertise. This could be marketing, this could be bringing in user requirements and then relaying that to the developer so that they know what features to implement and things along those lines. So when you're working with an AI assistant, they have different areas of expertise just loaded up inherently in their knowledge base. And this kind of tool really helps put all the different pieces together. So maybe you're really good at coding. This will help fill in all the other gaps. Maybe you're really good at the marketing piece or talking about the user story. Then you describe those things and ask ChatGPT to help with the other areas of that product requirements document. And this is also super helpful for the other tool that I wanted to use called Cursor. Cursor is a web development software, and it has AI capabilities built into it. There's also a special file in Cursor called Cursor Rules. It's what's known as a dot file, which is just a hidden file on your system, if you're not familiar. And it uses that Cursor Rules file as a type of system prompt. So it gets loaded up into your conversations within Cursor and helps inform it about coding choices, your frameworks of choice, different kinds of like coding paradigms that you might want to engage with. You can load up a lot of that stuff so it has it as content and context loaded for each of the conversations. Cursor is a super cool tool. It really helps speed up my development workflow because it just takes out that extra step of copying and pasting between Claude or ChatGPT or something. But again, this isn't really a coding video. I just wanted to explain sort of as I'm thinking through which tools I'm reaching for and why I might be using them. This is one of those moments where, again, my sort of domain knowledge here in web development and IT and stuff like that, it really helps propel me forward. Where again, depending on where you are in your career, you could think about different ways that this might be helpful for you if there are similar tools. Okay, so I have my product requirements document. I have this whole sort of like project outline scoped out in a Google Doc, sort of a summary of the things I want to cover, a couple of the ideas that I have, future developments for this particular project, all ready to go. And the other thing I knew that I wanted was some help with coming up with the design for the website. And there's another tool that I was interested in using called Bolt. And Bolt.new is sort of a full stack AI coding assistant. And I thought it was really cool because, again, you could just talk in natural language to this tool and get back a fully functioning web app that's easy to deploy to the internet, meaning that people can interact with it once you've pushed it live. You can send them a link to the website and they can start interacting with your web pages, which I thought was cool. Now, I just used a certain feature of it to come up with the design for my project. So let me show you what I came up with real quick. So this is Bolt.new. It's a very simple interface. And all you have to do, if you didn't know anything about coding, I am this close to saying that you could still come in here and with a little bit of persistence, and maybe you need to copy and paste some screenshots and send it to another chat assistant to help push through some errors or something like that. But I bet you could probably come up with a simple web application, and without any coding knowledge at all, you can have something up and running. A simple game, a little note-taking app, something like that. Just try it, see what you can come up with. This little text box here, all you do is put in your idea. And again, if you want to be more specific about it, you can give it a lot of information up front. But what I did was I basically just asked for an advent calendar app. And on the first try, it gave me this. So I'm going to open up my advent calendar, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. And you can see here on the left, it looks like it missed some of the previous history of my conversation, but I'm pretty sure the first thing I typed in was just, please give me an advent calendar app. I want users to be able to click on each day as they're made available throughout the month of December. On days that haven't occurred yet, I want them to be locked, and each day is going to have an activity that they can complete. That was as much as I said. Then once it gave me the calendar back, I remember I went to Google Fonts actually to find a font that I liked that was that sort of Christmassy type of font. I think it's even called Christmas something if I come in here to my Tailwind config, which just keeps my styles for my web app. Yes, Mountains of Christmas. That was the font that I found that I thought was kind of fun. But anyway, that's a little outside of this video. Basically, it nailed what I was looking for right out of the gate. Again, I wanted something quick and simple for my community that they would be able to start interacting with. That was more of the goal than having like the most polished web application ever, although I'm pretty happy with how it came out, if I could say so myself. This is a way for you to quickly prototype your ideas and actually be able to see and interact with them in a web interface. It's pretty sweet. Then you can even download the code to your computer and use that in a local development environment. So again, if you're not a coder, I'm not expecting you to follow along with that aspect of it. Just kind of think through like how I'm piecing a lot of these puzzle pieces together to come up with an end product. This could be extrapolated out to whatever project you're working on. So once I had this Bolt sort of framework, this Bolt prototype of my landing page and even some of the interactive pages, I knew that I could bring this into Cursor and work with those AI tools that are built into it to fully flesh out the website. Everything from user authentication to being able to share activities as you complete them, being able to mark them as complete. I built out an entire admin dashboard. So let's take a look at the Advent calendar. Let's see what it looks like currently. This is the current state of the Advent calendar. In this particular window, I'm actually logged in with an administrator account, but it comes complete with images, which I built with Midjourney, and I'll show you that process in a second. Each of the days, you can see these days are locked as designated by the key. All of the days that are unlocked, you can click on them and participate in an Advent calendar activity for that particular day. And the other cool thing about this, which I'm going to talk about in a second, is how I came up with all the ideas for each of the days, as well as the formatting, which I built my own custom assistant inside of Claude that helped me create this consistent look and feel. So all along the process, I was using AI every step of the way, but again, it was me with my own creativity, ideas, and then oversight into the final product. I put my stamp of approval on all these things. I was iterating back and forth and coming up with something that was more meaningful and informational and just bringing more value to the community than I otherwise would have been able to without these tools. Okay, so we'll come back to the custom assistant piece in just a little bit, but first let me just show off the quick full functionality of the website. And by the way, if I haven't said this already, I encourage you to take a look at the Advent calendar. If you're, again, learning about AI still, you want to engage and learn about AI in sort of a fun, low stakes way, this is a perfect way to get into it. The calendar is going to stay up after the month of December, so you can feel free to come back and check this out at any time. I think I have a lot of fun stuff planned. You'll have to be the judge of that, but there's some cool activities that you can interact with. I'm not going to spoil too much in this video, I promise. So this whole application is backed by a database that allows us to store information. So when you sign into this application, you sign in with a Google account, and that allows me to store like a username and your email, so that way I can tell how you've completed these activities and things like that. So you get a little toggle down here to mark whether this was complete or not, and you can save your progress for the day. It walks you through step by step the different objectives for this particular activity, as well as a challenge. In this particular activity, you're asking an AI how you can improve something about your work or personal life. And again, this is just something like, there's no right or wrong way to approach this. This is just to sort of get you in there and break the ice with an AI tool, but also hopefully get something helpful back in return. If you were interested in sharing your idea with the Advent Calendar community, you can come up here and click on Share. I see an edit button because I also have a whole admin capability where me, as the administrator of the application, I can edit the activities for the day, update the images that are associated with this particular activity day, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to back out of this. And if I go to Share, I am able to store a reflection, which is private to me. Some of this is me just testing the capabilities out. Or I can share a resource with the community, and if I choose, I can make this public as well. So these are like two different things. The reflection is more of just kind of you thinking through your process for the day. The resource is the actual work product chat conversation, maybe it was an image that you created with a AI tool, something like that, you can share that here, and then you could keep it private to yourself, or you can share it with the community as well. So another thing that helped me get up and running really quickly with this, I'm just going to call out to this component library, but there's something called ChatCN, and this has a bunch of pre-built components that I'm reaching for to help me get up and running quickly. Again, like I could probably spend, honestly, days tweaking the design. I'm not really that great of a designer when it comes to web development, so being able to lean on projects such as this that are free and AI tools know how to work with them pretty much right out of the gate, which is amazing. I can just tell it that, hey, I want to create this functionality, use this ChadCN component for the delivery of it, and then it's really just a one-shot prompt at that point inside of Cursor to help me develop new features or add new capabilities and functionality to my website, which is really, really cool to be able to do that. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the functionality when you're not signed in. You don't have to sign in to use this thing. You still get to see all of the different activities for each day as they become unlocked. If you're not signed in, you'll see a little sign in button up here. And you can also, when you're not signed in or you're not an administrator and you click on one of these tiles that are locked, you just get a warning that says, hey, this day is still locked. You'll have to come back on the appropriate day to see the content. So let me sign into an account that doesn't have administrative capabilities. I can go to the sign in page. We'll sign in with Google real quick. And same thing. The other cool thing about, well, I don't know if this is cool. The other thing I've implemented here is like a little user dropdown. You get to see what activities that you've shared in the past. You can also sign out from here. So if I go to my shares, these are all the resources that I've shared with the community here. I can make them public or private. I can click on the detail for an individual share. And it even shows like little badges like, have I marked this public? Is it private? So on and so forth. So that is pretty much the app, which is pretty sweet. The last thing here is the shared activities page. So these are all the shares that people, if they chose to make them public, they would appear here. All right, so that was the Advent calendar idea, sort of like overview. The other AI tool that I want to call out now is Midjourney. So all of the image assets on this particular web application were also created with a generative artificial intelligence tool. And my image creator tool of choice typically is Midjourney. I just like the aesthetic more. I can control sort of the look and feel. And when I find a style that I like, they have really cool features. It's called style reference that allow you to replicate that style and have a cohesive look and feel, which I really appreciate. So I took that and ran with it for this particular site. So the keys on the homepage created with Midjourney, this Christmas wreath, and then on each of the days, I've created a image using artificial intelligence. And so my idea was like, for each week, I'm basically going to change up the style. So for the first week, that was kind of that like ink pen sketch kind of vibe. This coming week is going to be a like watercolor woodland creature sort of vibe, all like winter themed, of course, because it's an advent calendar. But I just kind of had fun with it there. So let me show you a little bit about my process, about how I get inspired to create these kinds of things in Midjourney. So one other tool that I like to lean on, this is just kind of my own personal use case, is called Notion. This is a note-taking app. It's actually way more than that. There's a bunch of features. I use it as just like a note inbox. I'll throw in notes, links to websites, other applications, inspirational sort of things. And then I come back and organize it on a irregular basis, but it does help me sort of capture ideas and stuff in the moment. And then when I have a project I want to work on, I kind of remember, oh, I like saved something about this a while ago, then I come check it out. So on Twitter or X, I follow this particular person, Bry_guy_AI, And he has a lot of really cool artwork that he creates with artificial intelligence, and also has a pretty solid community around him that share really creative ideas with using various methods for getting what you want in Midjourney. So he often posts these things called srefs, which is a special tag that you can include in a Midjourney prompt that just helps steer the style of the photo. And you'll kind of see, like, you might think it's funny that I got inspired by a monster post to create an advent calendar, but the main thing that I kind of captured from this was the styling. So I'll pull up the actual tweet here. I liked this whole sort of like sketchy, ink sketch, hand-drawn vibe. I thought that was really neat. And some of these images in here, I could just envision like a cool looking Christmas like style with this particular style reference. Again, kind of strange that I went from monsters to this, but that's how I got there. So then I grabbed this sref here and I went into Midjourney. And you can see I've pulled up my grid here. Midjourney is really cool. It is a paid product. There isn't a free tier for this, but I do pay for this service, and it really is a cool, creative, expressive way to use artificial intelligence tools, I think. So I said that I was inspired by this like inky pen style illustration. And I was really going for this vibe of like this blue sketch pen, although I didn't necessarily want to grab the sref for this project. Another cool thing that you can do inside of Midjourney, this isn't really a tutorial on using Midjourney, but let me just grab the text that I used. So anywhere in Midjourney, you've got this text input, and this is where you put in your prompt. And Midjourney has this concept of adding tags to your prompt to control different aspects of your generation. And one of those things, like I said before, is the sref, where you can type in, copy and paste style references from different people if you were inspired. There's also a way to randomize this. So you type in dash dash, the command, and then the key for that particular command. And if you ever want to know about that, you can go check out the help docs. They detail this whole thing for you. So if you get confused, you can just ask, or you can create a custom assistant to help you do this without having to think about it. The other thing I like to do is type in, not random, but repeat, and then I'll just type in 4. So what this does is it takes my prompt, it appends a custom style reference 4 different times, and every time it runs this prompt, so 4 times, it gives me 4 random style references. And this is really cool just to see like what styles Midjourney comes back at, because some of them are really wild and outlandish. And it just so happened that in the course of doing this 1 or 2 times, I got a style that I was happy with, and one that I wanted to run with for my first week of images here. So I'll just run this and we'll take a look at this in a second. Okay, so here are a couple of the images that just got randomly generated, and you can just scroll through. If you saw one that you liked, maybe you liked this particular style, this appealed to you, then what you can do is click on this use prompt, and it goes ahead and appends like all the different characteristics of this particular image here. And then you can say, rather than a Christmas tree with decorations, you could type in whatever you want. So maybe we can go with our woodland creatures thing here. So a chipmunk wearing ice skates. Right, and then we hit enter, and it will start generating our new image, but in that style. And you can see it sort of replicated that hand-drawn look and feel, although not to the same degree as this particular image that I was hoping for. So, you know, running with Midjourney sometimes can be like hit or miss, and it really involves like patience, and I would probably spend some more time crafting the prompt to make sure that it actually did what I wanted it to. But in general, you get the gist. So that is my process for working with Midjourney. I find an image that I know I want to go ahead and run with. And then what I do is use that as my next prompt. So if we come in here and look at this, you can see that initial Christmas tree comes along for the ride as the prompt. And then I'm really just changing up the subject matter and generating a bunch of different ideas to come up with and use in my project. And then where that ends up showing up is inside of the different activities for the day, just to give it a little holiday flair and some more visual interest as you're interacting with the website. Okay, real quick, one other thing I wanted to touch on was how I used Claude to help me create a custom assistant that helped me generate this consistent look and feel. So if we come over to Claude, another aspect of this project is that when you pay for Claude, you get access to their projects. And a project is just an area where you can add custom instructions, you can add a knowledge base to a particular project that allows the chat to be sort of informed a little bit more by what you've given it. This helps a lot when you have repetitive processes and tasks that require a little more up-to-date or concrete knowledge that you've supplied as the expert for that thing. This really comes in handy for especially things like this, where I know that I want a consistent formatting every single time, and I know I want to give it some project background in its knowledge base, so it's grounded in that sort of truth that I've given it for every single conversation. I don't have to reiterate every time. I don't have to keep uploading material or copying and pasting. It's already there, and it allows me to quickly iterate. And I can just type in, hey, I'm looking for an advent calendar activity. It is going to revolve around this topic. Help me structure the whole activity for the day. So to demonstrate that, I'm just going to show you really quick. Here's the project instructions. This is where you would go to put your system instructions. And I will provide these just as an example, as a resource at the bottom of this video. But in general, I'm giving it instructions. You're an expert assistant specializing in designing engaging educational prompts that help people learn how to use AI tools effectively. And then I give it some core responsibilities, particularly around the structure that I want it to follow. So if you take a look at the Advent calendar day, every day kind of looks similar. Like you get an objective, some tools to try with links, a challenge for the day. Sometimes there's some bonus material, stuff like that. So all of that's loaded up into the project instructions so that when I ask for an activity, it's just going to nail it every single time, which is really helpful and saves me a lot of time when I go to prompt this. So one area you can go to learn more about prompting, if you're interested, besides watching my videos, of course, is to go to any one of these AI research firms creating these models and go to their developer docs. Again, it's not super scary to go look at that. But you will get a lot of times these prompt engineering guides, which are helpful even if you're not coding with these tools. It's good to think through like how the people developing these tools are teaching you to interact with them, because you can do that as the everyday end user as well. So one thing I want to do here is on their Be Clear and Direct page for prompt engineering, which is a helpful tip. I wanted to just copy and paste their golden rule of clear prompting, because we're going to create an activity based around this concept. I think it's something important for people to understand. And really, I'm just going to copy and paste this into my project assistant here and hopefully get a pretty good activity for the day on a first shot here. So here's how I would do it. I have an idea for what I want to use for an activity. Maybe it's a resource, maybe it's something I thought of on my own, maybe I've talked to an AI assistant and brainstormed something. Then I come over to my Claude assistant and I say, help me create an activity based on the following concept. If I have an idea for like specific examples or maybe like challenges that I want to see from this, I'll put this in here as well as bullet points, but I'm just going to give it this and see how it does. And you can see this is pretty minimal, and it's going to give me like the exact formatting that I'm looking for. The website that I've built, the administrative panel, accepts Markdown, and then it stylizes that on the back end. So I instructed it to give it Markdown to me every time, so that way it can help me through my workflow. And then boom, here you go. I'm just gonna review it real quick, and then I'll give some comments on it as we go. All right, and yeah, I think like overall this is pretty good. I will definitely tweak this before I give the final challenge, so stay tuned with the AI Advent Calendar to get the final look and feel of it. But in general, I like it, and I think the point that it's trying to get across is helpful for people to review. In particular, I kind of like the bonus challenge even, like try a reverse prompt. Maybe I'll add that as like, share this with the community and see who can guess what the actual prompt was. But take the output that you like and then show only the output to somebody and see if they can guess what you included as part of your prompt. So just as a comparison, like you can see, this is very specific. There's no way that an AI tool is going to give this formatting to you first shot here. So let me just grab the text and I'll show you, I mean, this should probably be obvious, but I'm going to create a whole new chat just with this. So this is just stock Claude, right? Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And I'm just going to show you like how different the response is when you find some custom instructions to help you work on a specific type of project versus just throwing this into a general purpose chat assistant. All right, so Claude is making something called an artifact. This is kind of a cool feature of Claude where it actually creates and runs code directly inside of your chat. Again, you don't have to know how to write code. It's doing all of the legwork for you, and it's creating like a little exercise to learn this particular concept. So this is kind of funny. It's like hyper specific, but I probably wouldn't go with this. But again, that's because I was really vague, right? And it's just coming up with the first example it thinks of. And in this case, it is not helpful. This example has nothing to do with advent calendars. It has no concept of like what I'm doing in terms of my professional career. It doesn't know the audience, any of that stuff. It's all left up to chance. So it filled in a ton of gaps. And clearly I would not want to use this as an example. So I think this is just a good example overall of showing you like how specific you want to be. Again, if you have it in your head, you should be putting it in your prompt, because if you leave it up to chance, you're going to get stuff like this where it's not helpful for you. And that's why I built this. I even gave it some formatting examples. So if I go open up this document, this is another skill that you're going to learn as you go. But when you're providing documents to a tool such as Claude, I gave it the exact formatting that I wanted to see. So this knowledge-based document here called Formatting Examples, I wrapped each example in something that is called XML. And it's not super important to know about necessarily. This is just something that Claude in particular likes to see inside of custom instructions and things like that. Another format that's helpful for these chat tools when you're giving them instructions is called Markdown, which I've talked about in a previous video. And if you're not familiar with those, definitely have a chat with an AI assistant to learn more about it. But I just gave it 3 kind of structured examples of varying degrees. And this is what it's using to inform how to, one, like which links to provide. I gave it explicit links for certain things. And then 2, it knows how to organize each section. And I also reinforce that as part of the custom instructions for the project. So this is all super important stuff that you can give an AI chat assistant to help it along its way. Cool, so that was a lot of the behind the scenes thinking and some of the tools and ways that I use AI to help me get this project up and running. If you're interested in seeing some more of the web development side of this, definitely drop a comment on the video and let me know. I'd be happy to walk through some more nitty-gritty coding details. Maybe even in a future video when I'm adding a new feature, I might walk through that whole process as just like a live coding experience, if that's something that you might be into. But I really just wanted to give you, like, again, the high-level overview, some of what goes through my mind as I'm creating these tools. So I'd love for you to participate in the AI Advent Calendar. I want to get this out in time for you to actually engage with it. and let me know if you like it, if you like the experience, if there's anything you'd like to see. Happy to take some feedback on that front. So I hope you took something away from this video, and I hope it inspires you to potentially create something on your own. All it takes is a little bit of creativity, persistence, and knowing how to talk with these tools to get what you want to do out into the open. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in another one.